A very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Kanji Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evans Okinyi and I'm here with Wakili Willie Soten. Wakili, how are you?
Fine, thank you. Yes.
The president is in Beijing, China, and of course is gone there to have some sort of engagements and discussions with the president of that particular country. Look at what is taking place there. And of course, for the common Mwananchi, we would make it clear to them that it seems like the president has gone to seek for another lending, or rather another financial aid from this particular country. Is that the case?
If this case was that he has gone there for the benefit of the people of Kenya, nothing will have stopped the State House from releasing a statement in advance, detailing the visit, the purpose of the visit, the nature of discussion that they're going to have, and the potential benefits to the people of Kenya. Then after the meeting, after the trip, on his way back, he should tell us the visit was successful, we discussed the following issues, these are the projects we've agreed. But has he told any Kenyan what he's going to do? He's not told you.
Definitely, we've been informed about one of the deals that they're supposed to be discussing on is the extension of the Standard Gauge Railway. And at the same time, there is the construction of the Rironi Mau Summit Road, that particular.
So now let me explain to you.
These are development projects. And by the way, before you explain to me, make me understand this. You've always told me here that debt is normally taken for development. Don't you think that for the first time our president is getting it right?
You know, when you talk about debt is taken for development, that's the law, not me. I'm telling you what your laws provide.
Okay.
I'm here as a student of the rule of law. Your laws provide that debt should be taken for development.
Yes.
You have 11 trillion debt as we speak. You are paying almost more than 70% of your tax revenue to debt finance. Next year, you are going to be paying debt and interest of 2.2 trillion against this year's collection of 2.3 trillion. And you think the solution is to go and borrow more. I mean, come on, Kini. You'll be asking yourself, how do I manage this debt trap I've caught myself in? Not going to take more loans to build vanity projects. Because SGR is a vanity project. If the volume of cargo from Mombasa to Nairobi accounts to 70% of the entire cargo from that lands at the port, and the Nairobi-Mombasa route is not viable, you're just losing money every day. In fact, that train to run every day, operating cost alone is almost 25 million per day, and it makes 18 million every day. So it's a loss. Now, you want to continue the vanity project from Nairobi to Sijui Malaba, where the volume of cargo is is now 30%, less than what you have in the one that is making a loss. How is that a project that you'll even be celebrating? You must ask yourself the viability. Is that something you tell people that we are going to borrow money to take SGR to Malaba? You should be ashamed.
So for you, are you therefore trying to say that the president's visit to China is unnecessary?
The unspoken word is he's gone there to look for ways to deal with this debt issue. Yeah, China is one of our leading lenders.
Yes.
And some of their debts are maturing next year. And I've told you the debt situation. What they are not going to tell you is that he's in China to try to find ways in which they can deal with this debt issue. Yeah, the rest are just side shows. But the key issue in China is the debt.
Okay.
Those Chinese debts that are maturing next year, the interest that are due for payment next year, are we able to afford them? I've told you, almost 100%, if we maintain the collections for this year, almost 100% of collections for this year, if we don't increase our taxes, then it means next year we'll collect the same amount. 100% of it is going to debt finance. Who is being paid? China is one of them. Domestic banks, the Paris Club, the London Sovereign Group. So his trip is going to discuss this.
So that means that the president actually fears that the country may be on the verge of defaulting on
Of
loans.
course,
That is why.
that is on top of his head.
But initially, we saw Honorable Ndindi Nyoro, the former chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in Parliament, come forth and say that, look, we are at the risk of defaulting here. Then he was quickly dismissed by the Treasury. CS, of course, and he said that, no, look, we are okay as a country, and then we now see that. Does it mean that the government knows some sort of truth that it's trying to hide from?
Of course, those who are in government, they know the true picture of the economy, and they know the true state of the debt payments. And obviously, they are tinkering on a default, and it's not looking good. I've just told you the payments which are due next year. They are impossible to make unless you end an arrangement with the lenders. Maybe convince China to restructure some of the debts, delay some payments which are due next year, restructure it. What do you offer in return to China? The last time when Eurobond was due for payments, they restructured it. They refinanced it at a higher interest rate.
Yeah.
So how do you go to China and tell them, I want to restructure my debt, and while at it, give me a loan to build a choo-choo train from Nairobi to Malaba? That makes sense. Even China will look at you like you're not serious. This one that we've done from Mombasa to Nairobi is making losses. You want to continue the vanity project to Malaba, when even the volume of cargo is now only 30%. The one that has the most volume of cargo is making losses. How is this a project I can put my money in? So the projects are the PR statements you are being made. But the true picture of what is going to do in China is to discuss this debt. That debt must come on the table. In fact, before they discuss any project, the first issue will be the question of the debt. How will you pay it? And I'm sure they're going to ask that allow us to restructure, renegotiate the repayments. If they agree, then you can now discuss those other things. But you can never tell Kenya that I'm going to discuss with the Chinese how to restructure your debts. That cannot be told to the people of Kenya. It's discerning eyes and ears like myself, who understand these things, that can tell you. Because we know the true state of the economy. We know the figures. We know the collections. We know what is due for repayments. So all Kenyans need to do it. And there's nothing special about knowing it. It's just the same way in your own household. You know which debts are due next month. You know how much you're earning. So you know which shopkeeper to go and talk to delay his payments, which are due next month. Give you a breather. That's what he has done. He has gone to a shopkeeper to get a breather. Otherwise, he will not meet
But at
it.
the same time, ask for more.
You hope that the shopkeeper will give you more. But a long shot. How? So the first conversation is, you already owe me this much. How will you pay it? So you agree on a restructure. If you agree on a restructure, then I'll now pay you more based on what we've agreed. But he'll never tell you we're going there to discuss restructuring of the debt. But it must definitely come up.
Now, with the kind of trade wars that we are actually witnessing between the America and, of course, that is the US and China, of course, the eastern side, we are looking at all these things. Do you think that at this point in time, now that it seems like the East is trying to look for allies, that it would be more easier for the government to get loans from that particular part of the globe?
The scope of the fight between the US and China, Kenya is a miniature country. What alignment? Those people are just trying to create their own balance of trade. The largest market to the Chinese is the US. Yeah. That's the largest market in the world to Chinese products, the US. And most US conglomerates are producing more in China than anywhere else in the world. They're just trying to find their own balance of power, balance of trade. Kenya cannot substitute the US market. So don't even get into that conversation. That maybe now we are looking for new allies that Kenya will
The people who are actually saying that now the president has decided to face East anyway.
No, I'm telling you, in terms of the trade war between China and the US,
Yes.
Kenya cannot be a replacement anywhere. The GDP of Kenya, as a whole, is less than the GDP of Texas. So don't even get into that conversation that Kenya can replace the US as a partner in that trade war.
It's not a matter of replacing, but my question is wouldn't this now make it easier for China actually to lend easily to countries such as Kenya?
But Chinese also have their own interests. They have their own interests. And they're not for the Christmas. They have not actually, they've never lent to Kenya before. They've lent to Kenya before. And the debts are due to be repaid. So you think because there's a Chinese US tiff that China will overlook its debts which is due to be paid? The debts are maturing. They have to be paid.
So therefore, there is no guarantee that even if you go there and ask for another loan, then it will be given.
No, they have to discuss within the prism of existing debts. What are you doing with the existing debts? How are you going to repay it? Or are you going to restructure it? What are the terms? That's different.
Then what are we witnessing here if you look at the kind of loans that have been taken? Because already we are having a problem with our loans in this country. There is also what we call the loan ceiling. Of course, the point beyond which the government should not actually borrow. But then we see this kind of appetite increase year in, year out. And of course, the government making promises for which they do not have actually the right amount of finance to actualize these projects. And then they end up borrowing and therefore increasing our debt at the same time.
You're in a debt trap. That's what you must understand. The Kenyan state is in a debt trap.
Doesn't the Kenyan state understand that we are in a debt
They know it, they just don't want to admit it. You're in a debt trap. You are borrowing from Tala to pay Fuliza. Borrow from Fuliza to pay Shabiki. Yeah. You're in a debt trap. That's why Kenya is. So don't expect to see the appetite to borrow go down. Just going to go up. Because if you don't borrow, that's why you even start borrowing illegally.
Okay.
Because you are caught up, your debts have caught up with you. The shopkeeper is asking you to pay for the last month's groceries. The cobbler wants his money to be paid. The school fees is outstanding. You had to borrow from the bank to pay school fees. The loan sharks, everybody's on your neck. So you must always look around because your income is not sufficient to meet all these debts. So you look for a new lender to borrow from. If you can't find a lender, you try the old lenders. Maybe I'll increase my interest rate. Just give me some little more money and give me another period of time to repay. That's what we're going through. There's nothing special that we are going through that an individual who is in a debt trap is not going through. That's where we are. We're in a debt trap. So analyze the Kenyan state with the mindset that it is caught up in a debt trap. It's not able to extricate itself out of this debt trap. So borrowing becomes the order of the day.
So the government is
negotiating with your lenders becomes the order of the day. Seeking to restructure the repayments.
And at the end of it, tightening the trap, as you're saying it here.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a rope that is coming to an end. The noose is just closing in. So you buy 1 day, you buy 2 days, 1 month, 1 year. Yeah.
What's the role of the parliament in all this? Because you've always had this conversation, you and your party leader, about the odious debt, but then we are still looking at a situation where we may also end up with...
You have the most useless parliament in the history of the republic. How did we even get here? Our budget is made in parliament. But we see the president making the budget on top of motor vehicles. No parliamentary sanction. He's making commitments on things to do without parliamentary approval. Parliament should have known that any lending in this country, borrowing, should be done as per our laws with their approval. Those projects that are being talked about here everywhere, where are they in the budget? Where did Parliament approve them? And even the funding. Leave that one alone. Most useless institution in the history of the Republic. Even worse than the presidency. Is that Parliament.
And finally, even if the government is given these loans for these projects, talk about the Mau Summit Road, talk about the extension of the SGR, don't we then still have the kind of fear of the inflation of the actual values of these things at the end of the day, as it was done with the SGR, the one that we have in the country?
Of course, the issue of governance also comes in. Even the money that we borrowed, how are we using them? Yeah, you go and borrow money and you're spending half of it drinking. That's what they do. So the cost of the project comes exorbitant and a drain to the taxpayer. Why? Because people decide they want to eat. They make it exorbitant. A railway that was meant to cost 55 billion from Mombasa to Malaba ended up costing 670 billion off our books, and then a loan of 450 billion. Total 1.2 trillion. Yeah. That's the state of the nation. Debt is tax in advance. When your government is mismanaging debt like it is, remember it has taxed you already for next year. It has taxed your children because it's the tax money that is used to pay that debt. They have no leeway in your tax money because bulk of it is going to debt. So they are borrowing more to steal it and mismanage it in advance. So the tax that was going to be paid next year, but one that could have gone towards providing basic services, is now going to be spent to pay your debt.
If you knew very well that the country is at the risk of defaulting, wouldn't you have done the same thing that the president has done presently?
As we are very clear as Safina Party, we will not pay Odia's debt. We will not pay.
So you won't even go the idea of restructuring.
We're restructuring what is legal, not illegal. We will not pay any Odia's debt. We are very clear. We will open the debt book. Any debt that is legal there, we will not pay. If there's any debt that was illegally taken, we will not pay. That is our stance as Safina Party. Odia's debt we will not pay. We deal with the consequences.
Will be interesting. Let me wait for the Safina Party government that says they will not pay debt. And
they will not pay Odia's debt.
They will not pay
Illegal
Odia's
debt. Yes.
Okay. Let's wait and see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. We wish Wakili Willis Otieno and his party leader Jimmy Wanjigi all the best in their quest to lead this particular country. Allow me to stop for now till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi.